The morning of day 3 started out with wind and the threat of rain. After a good breakfast, it was time to break camp and get back out. Shortly after we left camp, the rain found us. It lasted all morning and into part of the afternoon. When you come across a place with a name such as Split Bow Arch, you have to stop and check it out. And while we were there, that's when the wind really picked up. With the cracking and the popping of the trees, it was time to take relative cover in our vehicles and hope that the trail led us to areas with better cover. As luck would have it, the trail took us down next to the creek, and the mountains shielded us from the majority of the wind. We followed the creek for several miles, crossing it multiple times. There was also several dispersed camping sites along the way. A couple of the people in our party had never seen Cumberland Falls. We decided to make the detour to check it out. We knew the rain was going to be ending within a couple hours, so we decided to go to the lodge, sit down for a nice warm meal, and wait the rain out. After lunch, the rain let up and it was time for us to go down and see the falls. We pretty much had the place to ourselves. The falls, they were a sight to see today. She was pretty angry. After our detour to the Cumberland Falls, it was time to get back on the Kentucky Adventure Tour. As we did, the sun started to peek out. As we made it past Laurel Lake, it was time to start looking for a place to set up camp for the night. One thing to keep in mind if you're going to be camping in this area, you've got to be 300 feet from the water and 300 feet from a roadway before you can set up at this first camping site. Also, if you plan on camping in this area in the wintertime, all of the established campsites are closed for the winter. And beware of the innocent potholes. We finally found a suitable campsite well away from the road and the water. The next morning was the coldest one of the trip. but it was breakfast as usual and back out on the road. Not long into day 4, we encountered the first of what would be several large water crossings for the day. We stopped to stretch our legs and spend a few minutes looking around at the arches. These are noted on the map on the Kentucky Adventure Tour. Another point of interest along the Kentucky Adventure Tour is the infamous 3-ton bridge. We were a little worried about Kelly and his power wagon.
Hey, Kelly.
But he did venture on across it. Day 4's weather was turning out to be the nicest of the trip. The further we traveled, the bigger the creek crossings got. We weren't sure about this one, but we spent quite a bit of time looking at it, weighing our options. By the time our discussion ended, Kelly agreed to be our guinea pig and took that big power wagon across.
Underwater!
After Kelly made it through, Alan decided it was a little too deep for the JL. Kelly came back across and we looked for an alternative route. Sometimes detours hold the coolest discoveries. On this one, we found this walk bridge. We assumed that it was part of the Sheltoy Trace Trail.
Yeah, bouncy and see-through all at the same time. If this video is a little bouncy, it's because this walk bridge is very bouncy.
Another creek crossing, even bigger than the last.
This guy here advised us that he wouldn't go across it with his razor because there's a deep spot right before you go out.
After a little convincing and some of Nancy's homemade cookies, our new friend decided to show us what he thought was the best route through the creek.
Looking good, Alan. Good job, Alan.
So we got to this creek crossing here, was kind of trying to figure out whether we could make it through. Brad came along. He's a local guy here, was looking around at it, said he thought that he could show us the correct line. So Brad went through it, showed us the right line, and we went through it with no problems. Appreciate it, Brad.
So the tree across the road was a little too big to dodge. Kelly didn't want to ram it, so we had to cut it out of the way. What will be our final creek crossing of the day looked deeper than anything else that we had been through, but we didn't really want to turn around, and our sense of adventure kept pushing us forward.
Piece of cake.
I can feel it.
It was a little deeper than the rest. It actually ended up being about halfway up on Allen's grill, but we all made it. Our 4-day adventure totaled 284 miles. 148 miles was pavement, 125 miles was gravel, and 11 was dirt. Tell us what you thought. Leave a comment below. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching Coddiwomple Overland.